Okay, so code loop, code pill number 3, and this is a no-code one, is when you have a loop in which you have an initial condition, and this is quite common pattern, and this, for the most part, is pretty awkward. The logic is pretty awkward, and I'll show you an example here. So we have this array, this vector here, of numbers, this for numbers, and we want to find what is the minimum number in this array. So now we have our function, find our minimum, right? And let's explore a few of the options. The vanilla case, like the one that pretty much everyone will write first, is this case here. You need to find the minimum value, okay? Don't initialize or anything, you just say, okay, this is my minimum value, and you go through the whole array from 0 to the number of the element. And basically what you have to do is, okay, at the beginning I don't have any reference for my minimum value, so you just check if it's the first element, then the first element is the minimum value, because there is nothing else. And then if it's not the first element, that you start the proper loop, you just do basically the real code is this one. You check that if the current value is less than the minimum value that you saved, then you assign the minimum value to this new value, and then you go this loop. Now this is bad because, well, first of all, you have an if statement in your for loop, and usually for performance reason, you don't want to do necessarily branching in a very tight loop. So, and because this is basically done only once, there's no really much sense of keeping this check for each loop. Okay, so the second thing that you may do is this approach here. So you get your minimum value, but at the beginning you initialize to the opposite of what you want to find. For example, you need to find the minimum, so you just initialize the minimum value to in this case, the maximum, the biggest floating point number. Okay, and this is a very, very big number. So by doing this, you are absolutely sure that there are no values that are bigger than this max value, right? So you can avoid doing that conditional if, because you're pretty sure that any number is always less than the first one. Okay, so in this case, you still go a loop from 0 to 1, from 0 to the size of the array, and the first check that you do here, you're pretty sure that the first, well, you're absolutely sure that the first value is less than this value. So it will just have just one if instead of two ifs, and it's pretty optimized. But I mean, this is pretty good, but the slight problem with this one is, for whatever reason you messed up this assignment. Let's say that instead of like the maximum floating point number, you would have just wrote, okay, let's just do like a big number right to start with, right? Well, then this is error prone, because maybe your array is huge and this will actually be false, and it's not gonna be a good strategy. Okay, but this is quite stupid, right? So let's just see that. So this will, like 99.99% of the time, it's be always true. The only time which this could be false or could have wrong result is when you messed up this function. So maybe you go a double and you just assign the maximum, the biggest number for the float, or maybe maybe you have some not a number in your array, and then this will create with results anyway. So this is for the most part always correct. The only thing that you need to make sure that this is your ground truth. If this is your ground truth, then no, you're good to go. But an even better way to just avoid even the slightest of the doubt is this approach here. So you just initialize your minimum value to your first item of your array, and then instead of looping from 0 to the number of array, you're looping from the second one, from the number 1 to the number of array, and you do exactly the same loop. So this, you don't have to rely on luck by having luck on this to be absolute true. So this is basically the perfect way of doing it. Having said that, it's not yet very nice because you need to start from the number 1. I mean, nothing stops you from starting from number 0 as well, but this is pretty stupid because you know that you already assigned number 0. So starting from number 0 is pretty stupid. So the logical way should be start from number 1. And the problem with that is that this is a horrible loop. I mean, I on purpose wrote here some C++ C style loop in which you have an index which is an int. Okay, so but you may have loops in which you have a for range loop, right? It's like a value in the array, right? So in this case, like this comma here is just this is for you that don't know what is for range loop. It's just another way of doing a for loop without using C style indexes, right? And basically this will loop through the whole array, putting the number if value, and so here you will do if value is less than minimum value. So this will work, but because you cannot start from 0, right? You will do one more loop, right? If you say if you do this, it would basically do one more loop. So while this is the theoretical maximum and best way of doing things, the second approach is not too bad actually, and the third approach, which is just initialize the first to 0 and then just loop, it's probably okay. If you ask me, I would rather prefer to have this guy here, because I don't like to have in this stuff with this is just a weird loop. So yeah, there are like actually 4 ways of approaching this, and they will be all good, but just make sure that you don't do this, because this is quite sloppy.